What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gotians Games, and today's video topic is something that I know a lot of you guys have questions on this. We all face this question when it comes to this game. Who should I 6-star next? That is always a question that I see everywhere. That is always a question that I get personally asked. That's a question that I ask personally. So I wanted to discuss this a little bit to maybe get some perspective on how you should be deciding on who you want to 6-star. Now, obviously, the answer is going to be different for every person, because depending on what characters you have, depending on your personal box and the teams that you run, the answer is going to vary, always. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to kind of break this down into 3 categories. You have your DPS, your tanks, and your healers. That's the way that I like to look at things when it comes to 6-starring your characters. So the way that I see it is, when it comes to priority, what is the most important to clear the events? Now, for me, it's the most important thing to clear the event is making sure that your DPS has the most amount of stats that they can possibly get, or that you can possibly achieve for farming or equipment or whatever it is that you're doing with those characters. So for me, when I look at building my teams and I have to decide who am I going to 6-star next, I always opt for DPS first, because that's the unit that's going to make you do gonna have you do the most amount of damage to the enemy, so you can go ahead and clear that event. And that is a very, very important thing to remember when it comes to your units. Now, after that, again, this is all for me. Like I said, things may be different for yourselves. After that, I try to prioritize tanks. Because I want to be able to I want to be able to stay alive and have someone be able to absorb all that damage. Now, unfortunately, on my account, I don't really have that many dedicated tanks. I have a couple, but usually I'll run like Ken as a pseudo tank, because he seems to do a pretty decent job as a tank since you're stacking health on a character like that. I've run Luna as sort of a pseudo tank. I know a lot of other people may use a healer such as Angelica as a pseudo tank. They'll throw her in the front and stack HP on her. So again, the answer may change depending on your box and your characters that you have. So for me, I've 6-starred Charles. Now, again, like, I'm still working building his gear and stuff, and the situation as to why I went ahead to 6-star him is vastly different than probably what other people have. The reason why I decided to 6-star Charles is because of this. I pulled 4 Charleses. So because I pulled 4 of Charles, I'm like, you know what? I already have 3 5-stars, so I just need 2 more, and he's a 6-star. So I went ahead and I 6-starred him. In some cases like that, where you pull a dupe of a character, that may change the option for you, and that changes the option for me a good deal. So Vildred is another character, for example, that I wasn't initially going to 6-star. I kept pushing him off, like, yeah, I'll 6-star him next, but then I get somebody else who I would rather 6-star. So because I pulled a dupe of him, I was like, okay, you know what, now I'm gonna 6-star him. So that always changes the way that you make decisions. Now, again, taking things like that into consideration, going forward, if you need more heals, 6-starring a healer is not really going to necessarily give you those extra heals that you're probably looking for. As far as healing goes on a Soul Weaver, most of the time their healing is based off of their gear. So the better gear you can put onto them, the better their heals will be, because unlike other characters like DPS characters, who the higher stats they have in general, Like for example, the higher attack they have, the better that their gear scales with their abilities in it, directly, as opposed to healing, because healing a lot of times their abilities will stack with either the health of the caster, the health of the target, or the attack of the caster and the health of the target. So it's not directly based off of the stats of the character, whereas DPS is a little bit more when it comes to the initial stats, because when you level up a character, the stats that'll increase are going to be your attack, defense, and HP. You're not going to see your speed increase. That will always be their base speed. You're not really going to see the critical hit chance increase, critical hit damage. All that other stuff comes from the gear. So that's why when deciding on who to 6-star, I personally go for DPS, because tanks, more than anything else, you're going to be stacking their gear, health, and defense, or what, depending on the type of character it is. It might be different. So like for example, Tywin is based off of, I believe, health and defense. Damn it. Okay, max health. So he's based off of max health, where some others, like for example Armin, she's based off of defense. So if we look right here, barrier strength is proportional to caster's defense. So you see that you want to like stack a little bit more defense on her. And so things like that. So damage dealt increases proportional to caster's defense. So things like that is a little bit more cut and dry. But when you're talking about specific characters that aren't really so cut and dry, like for example Sirmia, who's a new character in the game, she's, again, like, I'm going to prioritize 6-starring her because she's DPS and she's going to help me clear the events a lot faster. So I can always throw Ken as my tank because that's the situation that I'm in. Or I can throw Charles as my tank as I gear him up. So, like I said, some people run their healers as tanks, and that's perfectly acceptable. That is okay. And if that's the case, then maybe you do want to 6-star your healer if you're going to use your healers as a tank, because the more defense and health you have, the longer that the healers will be able to survive and soak up the damage for your characters. Again, that's case by case basis. So I'm sorry that I don't have like an initial answer for you as to like who you should 6-star and this and that and whatever, but I thought I would give you my 2 cents, my opinion on how I 6-star my characters and how I decide I want to 6-star them. So I hope that you found this video at least a little bit informational. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button, subscribing if you guys are new, and I will see you guys in the next video. You guys have a great rest of your day. Peace out, guys.